Okay, so I'm going to try to make like a long story short out of this because I feel like there's a lot of details in my story and they're not really important, but I always give all my details, so I'm going to try and make this as quick as possible. So basically my journey kind of began like late summer last year in 2011. And what happened, like where it really started happening was when I was mini golfing, and every time I went to go pick up the ball, the golf ball, I would get like this pain in my knee. And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought, okay, maybe it's like knee injuries kind of coming back, or like maybe early arthritis or anything. I didn't think anything of it, so I just kind of brushed it off. Then come like September, like mid-October, I definitely started to feel some pain in my knee. I was like at the point where I couldn't like sit cross-legged or anything because if I put pressure on my knee, it hurt really bad. So what I had done is I had scheduled an appointment with a walk-in doctor to kind of get an x-ray if possible. And the doctor didn't want to do an x-ray because she said they weren't open. But what she did was she told me to strengthen my glute muscles, basically, by doing exercises, take Motrin, and come back in 2 weeks. And if the pain is still happening in 2 weeks, then they'll do an x-ray or something from there. So I thought that was a little annoying, so I was a little mad. And I was really stubborn. I don't like going to the doctors at all. So I just kind of like let the pain continue. And I figured, okay, my body will just heal itself. So then when November came around in November came around and I went to Maine, with my friend for her birthday for the weekend. And now I was at the point where I couldn't like sleep at night because the pain was so bad. And when I was like walking and there were like tears in my eyes, like I was limping, it was a nightmare. And I just thought, okay, well maybe it's only getting worse because I'm on my feet all the time at work. So I didn't really like think anything of it anymore. So then a couple weeks into November, I was at work one day and there's like levers on our shampoo chairs. And I was doing something at the sink, and from the side I had smashed my knee basically on the lever on the shampoo chair, and I like collapsed onto the chair and it hurt really bad. I had like tears in my eyes. I thought I dislocated my knee. So then I told myself, okay, now I need to get an x-ray because I already had knee pain in my knee, and now I just definitely did something really bad to it. So within that day, my knee was swollen. I couldn't like stand at work. I couldn't do anything. I went home and I was in tears on my couch. My dad came over and he's like, okay, we're going to schedule an x-ray because now you've definitely done something to your knee. So then like 2 days later, I think I got my x-ray done, and I was feeling good. I definitely still had knee pain. They told me, it was definitely swollen from whacking it at work. And I got my x-ray done, and then we left, me and my dad, and we went to go get breakfast. And, we were finishing up our breakfast, and then my dad got a phone call from the doctor, and he's like, we found a tumor on her knee. And he said on her x-ray there was a shadow, and it's a tumor. And no joke, in that moment, it like, my heart stopped. I can't even describe the feeling that I got because it was almost like all the sounds around me were like shut. Like I only heard like, I don't even know what I heard, but it was the worst feeling I think I ever had in my life. My heart just stopped. And the second I heard tumor, I was like, I'm gonna die. That's it. And I was like, I'm too young to die. I'm 19. I just can't even describe the feeling though. So I immediately stood up from my chair and I was like, we have to go. So I ran out of the restaurant and ran to my dad's car, and I was like crying, I remember, and my house was right across the street. So I went home and I just like fell onto my bed, and I was like so nervous because now they were talking how they wanted to do like an emergency MRI. So later that night I had my MRI, which took forever, like 3 hours. It was a nightmare, and the only thing I could think was like, okay, of like different kinds of cancer that maybe I could have, and it was on my knee that I was hurting. Like it felt like it was in my bone. So I was like, my mind was just like, okay, well maybe it's bone cancer. So then that night I Googled like bone cancer and like all these things, and I get myself really worried because I Google everything. So then after the MRI, it was like a week later maybe, I got a call from my doctor, and she's like, okay, we need you to come in because we want to go over the results. And me, I was like, oh my god, I can't take any more bad news. Like, I don't want to go in. Can you just tell me over the phone, is it good or is it bad? And so they told me I had to go in, obviously, because that's how they get their money. So I went in, and they said, okay, there's definitely something on your knee that's suspicious. It's small, but it can grow. It's very, very small right now, though, but it is growing, they said. And they said they want to do a biopsy on my knee to make sure it's not the C word, which at that point I was in tears because I was like, oh my god, it's definitely something. Because if it was like benign or something, I feel like it wouldn't be this scary. So I knew I definitely had something wrong with me. So they had scheduled a biopsy at Children's Hospital in Boston for like later that week. And at this point now it's in December. No, we're in like late November. It was actually, I got my biopsy the day after Thanksgiving. So I had this like horrible Thanksgiving last year because I had so much stress on my mind. So I got my biopsy, and they told me 2 weeks later that the results weren't good enough, because they were getting back dead bone as my results. And my orthopedic at Children's Hospital told me, okay, it's definitely something more than that. It could either be leukemia, it could be lymphoma, or it could be dead bone. We want it to be dead bone, but I don't think it is dead bone. So my life savior, my orthopedic, told me that she wanted to do a surgical biopsy. And literally, I was like so grateful. I was like, thank you so much for like wanting to go more into this, because I feel like some doctors, I'm not going to say anything, but I feel like some doctors would just take the dead bone and say, okay, it's this. But my orthopedic was like amazing. So I was so grateful for her. So yeah, I got my surgical biopsy. I want to say like a week before Christmas last year. And I remember after I'd gotten it, worst pain ever. After I'd gotten it, I remember it was, me and my friend were at the mall. We were shopping for like last minute Christmas stuff, and we got our pictures taken with Santa. And I remember standing in line, and I was saying, okay, I just hope I don't get my results before Christmas because I want to be able to enjoy my Christmas. And then the next morning, I get my results. And my dad walks in my room, and he's like, okay, so it's been confirmed. They want to let you know that you have lymphoma. He said it a lot more sincere than that. So he said, okay, call your orthopedic back because she wants to talk to you about, what's going to happen. And at that point, when my dad told me I had lymphoma, I was like relieved almost, because I didn't have a million things rushing through my mind. Like, could it be this? Could it be that? Am I going to die? How serious is it? Like, having an answer was so relief. Like, it was so much relief, I felt. Now, given that it was cancer, I was definitely scared. But I was happy that I had an answer, like a definite answer. So I called my orthopedic back, and she said, okay, we want you to come in, I think that day, to kind of, run some more tests, and we want to go over, your prognosis, this and that. So yeah, it was that day or the next day. I went into Boston, and my orthopedic told me, no, wasn't my orthopedic? I don't know. I went down to Dana-Farber because that's where I was treated. And I remember walking through Dana-Farber thinking, holy shit. Like, it was almost back to that feeling that I had where everything was like the noise was just blocked around me. I was just like, I can't believe that I have to be treated here. Because a couple years ago, my grandmother was treated at Dana-Farber for ovarian cancer. And I was like, oh my god, this is so surreal. Like, I'm 19 years old, and I have to get chemo. And I was more shocked, and like, it was just surreal. I can't even describe that feeling either. So I talked to an oncologist and a fellow on call, And they were telling me that, okay, you are going to have to get chemo, this and that. And they were giving me all, like, what's going to happen when I get chemo. My hair was going to fall out. I was going to be constipated. I was going to lose my appetite. And then, I had steroids that they were going to give me and what that was going to do. And they told me that I was going to have to get a bone marrow biopsy to make sure that the cancer didn't spread to my bone marrow. And I was going to have to get a spinal tap to make sure that the cancer didn't spread to my spinal fluid, which can go to my brain. So that was super nerve-wracking. And then that's when they also kind of told me, like, the exact kind of lymphoma I had. So they told me that it was in stage 1A, which is amazing because that's when you almost, like, don't even have symptoms of cancer. So the fact that I caught it in stage 1A, I, like, pray to whoever is, like, watching over me. So yeah, it was stage 1A lymphoma, and it was exactly diffuse large B-cell lymphoma. So I don't really know exactly what that means, but that's what it was. So then within a week, it was right after Christmas I started everything. So I got my bone marrow and my spinal tap, which was the most painful thing ever. I was put out, but the recovery was painful. Let me also tell you, I was in the the pediatric section of Dana-Farber and Children's Hospital. So that made everything like 20,000 times better because I got treated like a child, and I was 19 at the time. I was, like, so happy. So yeah, I got the results, and those came back negative. So I didn't have it in my bone marrow. I didn't have it in my spinal fluid. So that was, like, amazing. I told my dad, I was like, no matter what the results are, just please be calm, because he's a huge worrier. So yeah, so it was December 30th of 2011 that I started chemo, and my chemo regimen was CHOP. So I got vincristine, doxorubicin, I had prednisone, and cyclophosphamide. And my cycle was, I had 7 total, no. I had 9 total chemos, and they were once a week. And what happened was, they were broken down into 3 weeks. So I had 3 cycles for 9 weeks. So my first cycle was always a big one. Like, the first week of a new cycle was always a really big one. And I would be there for at least 5 hours. And that's where I got everything. And then the 2 weeks prior to the first one, or the beginning of the new cycle, I would only get vincristine. It's really confusing when I, like, try to describe it, but it was a breeze. So my experience with chemo, for what I had, was not as bad as I thought. The only thing I was super nervous about was losing my hair. And there's a video that I posted of me and my friend buzzing my hair, because my hair started to fall out. I think I buzzed it Friday the 13th, and I started chemo December 30th. So about 2 weeks after I started chemo, my hair started to fall out. And I was, like, so excited, because I was like, okay, well, maybe, it's already been 2 weeks, if I could make this last 5 more weeks or whatever, 7 more weeks, and I'll be okay. But no, it definitely fell out. Not all the way. I definitely had some fuzz left, but it was pretty much almost all gone. I didn't lose my eyebrows or anything. My hair on my legs didn't grow back or anything. And I lost my eyelashes in one eye. That's it. One eye, and it was this eye. And doing my makeup was, like, awkward. So I just didn't even wear mascara at that point. I definitely got the constipation. Not gonna lie. Straight up. I got that. That was a nightmare. I figured ways out around it. So that worked. You get really, like, burpy and kind of gassy, because you're taking something for like heartburn, because I guess they said the chemo can mess with your stomach fluids and can, like, give you heartburn and stuff, which I got horribly. I had horrible heartburn. You burp a lot and all that fun stuff. I didn't get nauseous, except for Super Bowl Sunday I got nauseous. And the Patriots were in the Super Bowl Sunday, and I don't even like football, But that was the one weekend that I got crazy nauseous. And my dad and my sister are in my living room screaming at the game. And I texted them. I was like, can you guys shut up because I need to sleep. Because I can't, like, that was the only thing that could help my nausea. I had taken all my nausea meds. I couldn't even throw up. I tried to make myself throw up to make me feel better. I couldn't. So that was like a nightmare. I was like, well, my luck. So, I got through the chemo. It was very easy. I didn't really have any complications. I didn't get a port because I figured it's only 9 weeks long. There's no need for me to get a port. And then on my last chemo, the only thing that did happen was because I didn't get a port, my veins were just like deteriorated. I had no more veins left for them. And it was on my last chemo that I had a big one, and they were just looking for veins. And I think I have a video online that has my last chemo, but they had to get it. They tried in like 4 different spots for my chemo because they drew blood and they wanted to save my veins for drawing blood. So they used my right arm for drawing blood, and they used my left arm for chemo. So they tried right here, and then they tried right here, I remember. And this is where it was a problem because now it's like permanently damaged. You probably can't see. But, let me see. I don't know. You can't really see it. But I have, like, skin tissue damage, I think, because what happened was my chemo had leaked out of, like, my vein blew because it was just so shot from chemo that it blew and the chemo leaked. So what they had to do is they had to get an ice pack, but it kind of took them a couple minutes to get my ice pack. And so I didn't feel any burning or anything, but, like, a couple days later, this hurt really bad, like a bruise. And now when I feel, like, both sides of my wrist, there's, like, nothing there except for bone. Compared to this one, there's, like, skin tissue, and this one has just bone. And it's, like, kind of bruised, and it's got, like, a divot in it. So I think that my chemo leaked and, like, ruined my skin tissue. That was my only issue, but it feels kind of weird in my vein now because I can, like, feel it. I don't know, it's weird. So yeah, my chemo was good. Wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And then that's it. I guess, now it's just basically my MRI results and stuff. And like I said in one of my videos, one of my last MRIs, my orthopedic told me that my MRIs will never look truly normal. She said that there's always going to kind of be something there, but it's not going to be like dangerous, I guess. So on my last MRI, I got results that my tumor is actually turning back into bone marrow, healthy bone marrow. So it's kind of reversing. And the only reason why I think it's doing that is because me and my sister did a juice last month for 2 weeks. So we only ate raw fruits and vegetables. And I was like totally convinced that that like helped reverse my tumor. So if I were to give you like one piece of information is if you're like sick, or even if you're not sick, to help prevent you from getting sick, do like a raw vegetable diet for like 2 weeks. Me and my sister juiced for 2 weeks, and I swear to God that reversed my results, and I felt so good. So yeah, that is kind of like my cancer story. It's definitely throws you through a loop when you find out you're diagnosed with something, but I mean, we're in the best day and age for the medical fields, and it's only getting better. So, my oncologist told me that my results are 90-10, or those are my chances of relapsing. I have a 90% chance of not relapsing. He said he would say 100, but he doesn't want to give me false hope, because God forbid something were to happen. So, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely really scary, and for anyone who hasn't gone through chemo or anything, and they're kind of like being a support for someone who's going through chemo, just like know that half the battle is like recovery. Because right when they're done with chemo, that's not like the hard part for me was like after chemo, and all you're thinking about is, oh my gosh, am I gonna relapse? Like, it's definitely really, really hard. So don't give up. As annoying as they might be, don't give up on them because they finished chemo and they're still, or like worse, or 10 times worse. So, yeah, that's all I can say, but hopefully this helps for people.